Sir, please unmute.
Okay. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. I believe you can hear me loud and clear, right? All right, so thanks for joining us and welcome to another edition of the Conversations with Esau Bassi. So this is an initiative of the Cross River Movement, which is aimed at engaging and exchanging ideas, that can foster the development of Cross River State. So promoting youth participation in politics, and not just in politics, but in engaging in society better, is a global priority, it's a growing priority. And, Nigeria is no exception. And I think in Nigeria today, it's fair to say that more than ever before in our recent history, we see young people eager to participate. They appear to be a lot more politically engaged ahead of the 2023 elections. So in this conversation, we seek to identify ways in which young people, can get involved, in day-to-day politics and, I guess just engage better with society as well. And so we've got, an array of great guests or, panelists here today. And I'm going to be introducing them shortly, and this is not in any particular order. So we've got Aqua and Dotan. So Aqua has a track record in sales promotions and business development. And he began his career as a teacher and then, I guess, transitioned into other areas. He joined the Guardian newspaper as a senior sales representative and circulation officer in Rivers State. Aqua is the National Publicity Secretary and Acting General Secretary of the NYDP, and was recently appointed Media Aide to the ADC, so that's Africa Democratic Congress, Chairman River State Chapter. And he's a member of the Youth for Positive Change, Niger Lives Matter, and belongs to many other organizations that are driving change in Nigeria and advocating for active youth participation in politics. We also have Nella Andem Ewa. Nella is a special advisor on policy and communications to the senator representing the Cross River South Senatorial District. She's also a partner at Lex Global Partners LP, and she's a cross-sectional policy and legal professional with a lot of experience in various fields, including policy advisory, communication, litigation, etc. I would leave it at that and jump forward. I don't know if John is here with us, but if he's not, I believe he should be joining us at some point. So John holds a degree in educational technology and economics. John is a businessman. He's into agriculture, production and processing. John is a politician. I believe he is the ward chairman for the PDP in Oban ward in Akampa local government area. And he's also the chairman of Ward Chairman's Forum for Akampa local government area. And I know we have Rosemond as well. Rosemond, I'm sure you would introduce yourself. So I think we'll kick it off here. But usually with these conversations, what we tend to do is that we send someone out to the streets, to meet with people, just sort of sample opinions on people's opinions on, the topic that we're going to be discussing. So I will go ahead and play a video that we have, and then after that, we'll go into the conversation. So I believe you can all see my screen. And hopefully you can also hear the audio.
Hello,
Welcome to Cross Movement Discussion today. My name is Godwin, but today's topic is youth participation in politics, and we are here to seek the opinion of Nigerian youth. Why youths have not been carried along in politics? Why are they so scarce? What's the problem? What's the limitation? So join me as I seek the opinion of Nigerian youths out there on what can be done to service this situation and possibly what the problem had been. You know, a problem known or shared is half solved.
The main reason why youth are not participating positively in politics is that our leader up there, they are not encouraging. Because you can't tell me one will spend over many years in school, all his resources, his time, and come back with and no job. Either what they do is that they will go and pick one that is not even qualified.
You can encourage the youth by empowering them. You're giving them a job opportunity where they can work, earn living, and as well make it in such a way that it will be more interesting. If you are there, you know you are there. If you're not there, you know that you're not there. You work towards it.
Very bad that over time, youth have rather been used for negative activities in politics other than the positive part. Youth can only be identified for thuggery and rigging of electoral materials and all of those things.
If you want to encourage youth in terms of politics, one, you have to be transparent, you know, by giving them that opportunity so that they can showcase the talent they have. A lot of youths can display a lot of things they've already gotten from their time of education, from their cradle, even from their family, from their background as well. So if an opportunity is being given to such youth, you see that person being vibrant, bringing up the best he can in him. And funny enough, they work in team. And once you're a team worker, you know what it means? You go along with the person, with the people around you.
Youth should be carried along politically. We should be brought into the political limelight because the political power is being transcendental. It's not stable to one person. And every generation should have their own cause to bring a representative.
Much participation in politics can help build the standard of the country.
We need younger people, vibrant men to be included in the administrative processes of the council.
It is still Cross River Movement discussion. I remember we've been talking about youth participation in politics. In this era where youth are agitating and showing so much interest and vibrancy and capacity in politics, I think it will be more important and interesting if these youths are carried along in the political system so they can bring in their vigor, their energy, their desperation, their intellect to bear. And I'm sure it will help to boost our political system. You've heard all they said they should be given chances, they should be given appointments, they should be duly employed because some of these people are very much endowed, especially those breed of Nigerian youths. So carry the youths along in politics and I tell you, it's going to mean well for you and for me. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you in our next edition.
Okay, all right. So everyone, once again, thank you for joining us. So we're going to jump straight into our conversation for today. I think John will probably join us at some point. But I think, okay, so basically almost, I think 40% of Nigeria's population is classified as youth. I'd like to throw this question maybe at each of the members of the panel to find out, with such a huge demography of 40%, how do you feel this democracy benefits Nigeria, currently? I mean, if you feel it does, and if you feel it doesn't, maybe you can share your views on that as well. Maybe I'll ask Nella, maybe I'll ask you to respond to that first. So we've got a population that has, according to the statistics, over 40% youth. That's a huge number of people. Do you think that the country benefits as it should from having that demography?
Hi, thank you for having me on today. I think I'll just go straight to the question. Does Nigeria benefit from having as many youths as it does? Not as it should. I think we're underutilizing the human capital because I think the youth tends to be the larger part of the active working population. And if we have statistics that show that majority are either underemployed or not employed, then that means that we are not fully utilizing that fraction of society and everything they bring. Because I mean, normally you would say, youths are generally, I mean, there are different definitions of what you classify as youth, but generally speaking, that's between 18 to 35, sometimes 40, sometimes 45. But that tends to be the group that are either working, more tech savvy, more open to taking risks, or even have the option to take those risks that either bring about innovation or some form of change. And they tend to be good organizers as well in terms of creating that critical mass. As we even saw during the NSAS protests, I mean, a lot of what went, the successes that we saw were due to that coming together of young people, the innovation, the ability to create that kind of force. So to just quickly, I mean, this is a preamble, I guess, in terms of going into the conversation, but to say it shortly, no, Nigeria hasn't fully benefited from the youth population. We haven't fully utilized or even come close, even a fraction of utilizing our youth population. It's the opposite that we seem to hear about or complain about. So no, we haven't.
Okay. Aqua, I'd like to hear your view on this. And if you agree with Nella, maybe you may wish to say why you think Nigeria hasn't, benefited from having such a huge youth population, if you agree.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I agree with Nella. Nigeria hasn't benefited at all from the youth, that demographic of our population, 45% or thereabouts. The youth constitute the productive force of every economy or country. And so if the economy is thriving, it is the energy, the resources, the talent of the youth. And if a country is failing, it is because that resources has not been properly and adequately exploited by the leadership of that country. So in Nigeria, the youth have not been given the right opportunity to put it's just about 1% of the Nigerian youth that actually are exercising. And that is just beginning to happen recently due to the upsurge of social media, the fintech revolution that we're witnessing today. So I agree with her absolutely that we need to do a lot more in order to gain more from this demographic section of our population. Thank you.
Okay, so when we say we need to do more, who needs to do more, and what, in your opinion, needs to be done?
When we say we need to do more, basically, there are a strata of issues that have to be addressed. First,
Aqua, do you want to try turning off your...
With the right mindset,
try turning off your video so that maybe the quality of your audio may improve. Yeah.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Yes, I'm saying the political leadership, we must have to have the right political leadership with the right mindset, with the right policies that will provide the enabling environment for the youth to thrive. And if we do not have this, then we are not getting it right. So this is one of those things that we need to do. And we need to have the right education, because education has gone beyond the classroom, the theory and the classroom, the traditional education of literacy and whatever it is. No, it is gone beyond that boundary in our generation. Education today is centered on skills, specialized skills, especially ICT. And so if the environment is not provided, if there's no enabling environment for the youth to put this to use, it means they are not being fully or they are being underutilized. So the right leadership is key and important to using the population of the youth.
Okay, you mentioned having the right political leadership, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe that leads us nicely into the main topic today, which is youth participation in politics. So we know that this is the season, this is the political season, and rightly or wrongly, we tend to go to sleep a little bit, after elections, and then just as elections are coming, everybody wakes up and becomes, politically very active. What do you think, what role do you think the youth can play in bringing about the right leadership that you think would then help to address some of the issues that may be holding young people back?
Thank you very much. The youth have a major role to play in deciding who becomes the leader.
Aqua, it looks like you're still having issues with your audio.
To the national. Now, the youth have to get involved in active politics. They have to have their PVC. They must have to be ready to vote. And importantly, vote the right candidate.
Okay.
If we look at statistics coming from INEC recently, we find out that the PVC registration the youth has a higher percentage of new registration. Now that means that the youth have become a force, a formidable force that will eventually decide the outcome of the 2023 election. If statistics coming from INEC is true and reflect the reality. So they have to get their PVC, because without your PVC, you cannot vote. And so becoming active in politics is not just about being a party member. No, it's a process, a political process. You getting involved in the political process. And that process begins with you having your PVC and getting ready to vote in an election. And that process also involves identifying the right candidate with the right competence and the right vision, the right charisma, and the right leadership quality that will lead this nation out of the current economic quagmire we found ourselves. So it goes beyond carrying a card as a party member or supporting a particular party or candidate.
Okay. All right. Aqua, thanks very much. Nella, let me come back to you. So I know you have a personal experience, because I believe you ran for office. Do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe what you did and what your experience was like as a young person trying to get engaged in running for political office?
Okay. Thank you. I would say, I'll try and, if I was to speak about my experience, it would be quite long. So I would just maybe highlight some issues in relation to what the discussion is. I think as a young person going into politics, I think for me specifically, I would break it down into two things. So it's not just as a young person, it's as a young woman. So there are actually two factors involved. I think going into politics in Nigeria, generally, people think it's a bit, it's an intense experience. People often find it scary. And when you even say, oh, I'm considering going into politics, the response or the reaction is almost a thing of, are you sure? But I think it allowed me understand to an extent also why Nigeria is the way it is. And if we're speaking specifically where I'm from, it allowed me to understand that constituency more. as a young person, the first reaction is, yeah, a small girl, even the way you are referred to as opposed to other people is, child. They use the words like child or little or small girl. And, if you are a bit unsure of yourself, it can affect your approach or how you feel about even, you may even have imposter syndrome. Like, am I really supposed to be here? But the truth is, I think it's an experience that I encourage everyone or anyone who is interested in going into office or running for office or being in some form of service to their community to take on. If that is the path, obviously there are various paths to serve. I don't think politics is necessarily the only path to service, but my experience also showed me that there are several barriers to entry.
What are some of
we
those
think
barriers?
of, okay, maybe the financial, we think of the financial aspect, but I think we can break it down into more than that. There's social norms and expectations, stigmas attached to as a woman. There are already expectations that you may not be, with a woman, the one that's going to come and lead us. There's, you're young, or you may be, if you're married, shouldn't you be in the house? If you're unmarried, can an unmarried person, when she gets married, if she doesn't marry someone from where we are from, that's another issue. And even politically, those are issues that women face. Then there's I think market forces. It's not just having the funds. It's the role that finances play in the whole electoral process. It's not just even during consultations or after, it's throughout the process. I think there's a supply and demand issue. It's almost economic in a way. When we have a society, and this is a thing across board, where social mobility isn't something that we are experiencing regularly, which is basically the ability for an individual or a community to move from one social level to the next. Those in power take advantage of that, because you find people who are in need of instant financial assistance. So if you have a political process or that time going on, it's easier to say, if I see 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira now, I will take it, because I don't know when these people are going to come back and even develop my community or even look at me again. And, the thing is, I think as politicians, these are things that I guess people get used to expecting, because there's no way you can say, I will do this, if the people haven't seen other politicians do it in the past. So that's all talk. Eventually, when they get into office, they change. And it's something I heard a lot, like, this one, maybe now you are, once you enter there, everything will change. But that is the way people think, that's the expectation. And you can't necessarily be angry, because human beings are, it's what you experience, it's what you see that you get used to, or you expect to keep happening. So for me, I think the barriers are, we have the social issues, we have the market forces, we even have the structural, like architectural restrictions. For example, the nomination form, that's in itself, the price of a nomination form, that's both market and structural. But the cost of buying a form, yes, there are discounts for women and young people, but in some parties, the price, even just the starting price, was extremely high. Then even during the electoral process, there are different things you need to purchase, different things you need. Those are all barriers to entry. Then you have, obviously, the law. The law is already there, the age restrictions, which at least not too young to run has helped, to reduce the age for people to run for office at the different levels. And, those are some of the issues that I think, if we can maybe take them apart and assess them individually, maybe we can begin to build on, okay, as a young person, this is how we overcome this barrier to entry, or this is how we make it easier for young people to get into politics. And I also think it's not something we should start thinking of maybe a year to the elections. Fine, 2023 is around the corner, but after that, I think, as you said, it needs to it's a continuous thing. The electoral cycle is continuous. It doesn't really stop. And I think maybe if we move away from that 1 year understanding, then we may be more prepared as a movement, if you want to say, as young people, or that critical mass will be prepared, and more either as the electorate or even those who are considering going into office.
Okay, Nella, thanks very much. It would be, yeah, great. Maybe later on as we progress with the conversation, maybe we'll hear a little bit more about your personal experience though, but I think you've made some very good points. I think I'd bring Rosemond. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, right? So we know that running for office, and of course, running for office is just one of the ways in which, you know, people can get involved in the political process, but running for office anywhere in the world is expensive, right? It's, you know, you're going to be advertising, you're going to be traveling around and all that. It's very expensive. But in Nigeria, I think it is super expensive. One of the reasons being that, you know, we see, especially amongst the most dominant parties, the primaries, the delegates are bought, you know. What in your view, and this is not an easy question at all, but what in your view can be done to remove some of these financial barriers to enable people who, you know, are younger get into running for political office? It's a difficult question. I don't, you know, I just like to hear your view anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Sorry to interrupt you. So I noticed we have John. John has joined us. So you know, I think after this I would maybe ask to hear his views on a couple of things. And for everyone else who's here, if you have a comment or question, you can either type it in the chat or you can use the reactions button to indicate, and then, you know, we could give you the floor. All right, Rosemond, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I just stood up from my seat for a minute. Okay, so in response to your question, I get this question every single time, especially because we have a fellowship program that is ongoing. I'll talk about it later. And some of the fellows ask, you know, how do we raise funds, you know, to support our political career and our political cause, what we want to do politically? And the answer is always, you focus on the money and you miss the objective. Why do I say so? Because the so-called candidates right now that are running for office in different capacities, it will shock you to know that not all the funds that is being pushed to their political campaign is from them. They are not the ones pushing their own political campaign with their funds. They have support from friends, they have support from organizations, businesses, different areas are geared towards making sure that funding is not a problem for them. For young people now, the question will be, how do we target those networks that can provide the funding that you need, right? What we're trying to do now, we understood that one of the gaps that hinders young people going into politics is funding. We might not have that access to funding right now, but what we do is network is key. And like someone I respect very much would say, so sometimes we underestimate the power of the people that we have around us, the people, because it takes just one person that knows one person that knows one person. And you might be thinking that, oh, having access to, you know, when we say godfatherism and all of that, it's a bad thing, so to say. But it's important that you have access to people that believe in your vision, that believe in what you want to do, and they support your cause. Because if you're trying to do it on your own, based on your own funds, you might not really get it. So one, get you know, people that support your vision, people that support the plans that you want to do at local, state level, whatever level that you want to run for politics, and also get the buy-in of the private sector, businesses, different ways that you can raise funds just to support that cause. because if you just rely on your own personal funding, you might not be able to support your political journey. So that's just my take on how you can reach that funding part of your political process. Yeah.
Okay, Rosamond, thanks. I think those thoughts are valuable. But let's say, for example, one followed some of the things that you've mentioned. So you tap into your network, you talk to local businesses, you share that vision and all of that with them, you get a bit of money coming in. And then the person who you're going up against to maybe get your party's nomination is someone who's sat in the Senate and has amassed, maybe 100 billion naira to battle against you for that position. What chance do you stand?
That's a very
I'm just being practical. I'm just being as
I know, I get where you're
practical.
coming from. Definitely. Yes, that's another issue. But I think that's where political mentors come in. I know right now we don't have enough political mentors, so to say, people that would show you how it's done. This is how it's done. This is access to the networks that we have. That is lacking, especially for young people. But what we're doing is trying to bridge that gap. Can we connect you with mentors, politics that are in the political field, past, current, serving? Those are the people that understand how these things are done. They understand because they've been there, they have experience, and they can bring it to bear. So I will not remove these two critical factors: mentorship, political mentorship, and the second thing is network. These two work hand in hand, and it will help you to bridge any gap. And I would say this, there is no political candidates right now that is running based on their own funds. And I'll say this anywhere. It's some of them might be based on, okay, they've said before. So those that are just coming in, some of them is not that it's their personal funding. It might be business. It might be funding from business. Might be funding from their political friends, political mentors. They too have political mentors, and that's very critical for them. So I would say you want to go into office, please have political mentors, credible political mentors, people that can provide you the support that you would need, people that would show you this is how it's done, and you, based on the context that you have, you can decipher what you want to do with that information and what you want to do with the network they're going to connect you with. But those two critical areas, very important: political mentorship and networking.
Okay, Rosamond, thanks very much. And I think we'll come back and pick up on some of these again. John, thanks for joining us. I know you're a very busy man. You're a ward chairman for a political party in Cross River State, one of the two main political parties in Cross River State. You may wish to mention which party it is if you want to, but it's up to you. To what extent do you feel the youth are engaged in the politics within your ward and your local government? And I'm not talking about, of course, youths will come out to vote and that sort of thing, but do the youths have a voice? Do they have a voice, or are they really just doing what is told to them to do from, people who are older and more influential or in positions of strong influence? So you need to unmute yourself, John. John, we can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. And greetings to my colleagues or my co-guests who are there. Yes, for your question, it is obvious now that the youths are participating in politics today. They are participating in politics today, but the youths are not really getting what they want or what they desire in politics, given the nature of politics we have in a country. And back home, my ward, as a ward chairman, I'm working with a lot of youths in Oban precisely. But you see, I stand as a ward chairman. I have other people who are working with me in the high school. But what politics we have seen today is attentions are always given to leaders, to big men, to who is who. And then maybe you see attention turns to the youth when it comes to voting. That is one of the issues we are facing in our world. But then, just of recent, I've also experienced a lot that the youths are beginning to understand what politics is and why they should involve in politics today. Why am I saying this? I'm beginning to understand as remote as CAM4, a unit called CAM4 in Oban, as remote and as poor intellectual the people are beginning to say to me today, look, I think it's high time we begin to choose leadership of high quality, people that can give us good governance. And I was shocked hearing those things. And I felt something is happening. And I felt people are becoming aware of what is going on in our country. And people are desiring for a change. So when I begin to hear things like that, I get so happy. And I try to engage them more and more. And I said, look, if we do this, the issue of the big man, the issue of Oga will die. But I know again, he will not die just like that because these guys have the money. These guys have a way of influencing the system. And you know, our people, like I keep on saying, one of those things we are facing is the level of poverty around our people. And then even when these guys have these noble ideas to change the system, to change the environment, to make it favorable for them, you know, to pursue their personal ambition in politics or to join suit with others. These guys will still come with the influence of their money to induce these people who, even when they're having these noble ideas. And it's a huge challenge. It's a very huge challenge. And that is why you see the youth participation in politics is very low. It's very, very low. As I speak with you, I've just stepped out from a hall in transport. There's a meeting going on. That meeting is organized by the state party chairman. All the candidates are here. And inside the hall, I can see the young people. So many of them, what chairmen from different wards in the entire states are here. But you see, these guys who have this desire, this goodwill, you know, to participate in this politics and see how they can, you know, also ensure the goodwill, you know, comes down to the low man, to the lower person. But again, these guys still, like I said, will have their way. They will still come to influence us. But all the same, I'll still give it to the youth today because the high level of participation is encouraging. It's encouraging. Even the few youth that have spoken today, I mean, they've really spoken well. They're also putting it straight to the leaders. Look, you guys must also give us a chance. You know, we are also hungry to be part of the decision making. It must not be you alone. So far for me, I will sincerely tell you that it's going to take us some time. It's not going to be overnight issue. It's going to take us some time for us to get to the level we are seeing happening in other worlds, in developed world. It's going to take us some time because we are facing so many challenges as youth, so many challenges.
Okay, John, let me ask you quickly. You mentioned that you were engaging recently with the people in Camp 4.
Camp 4, yeah.
In your ward, yes, and that there's this yearning for, you know, better quality leadership to represent the people. What do you think is driving that you know, that sentiment? What do you think is the driving force behind the people now standing up and saying, "No, we think we want something a bit"?
Simple is awareness. What you are doing today, sincerely, I'll tell you, if I have a town hall meeting of this 1 or 2 times in Oban, the mentality of the youth of Oban will change automatically. You know what I do? Because of the electoral processes today, because of the policies we're having today, elections is not a carry on as we used to have. Election today is one man, one vote. And how do you ensure your political party wins this election? You have to engage your people. So as a work chairman, I go down my unit to be speaking with my people. I think I mentioned that video on something. That I take it upon myself, I go meet these guys and begin to tell them, look, this Maggie, this 5,000 cannot take us anywhere. You are working, you're doing farm. What will help you sustain a good living is when you are able to put a good quality representation. When you have a good quality representation, when you have a good quality democratic governance, that is when life will be better. So I think I'm also speaking sense. And then I see those things driving them, and I see those changes coming at a very faster rate. You go to my community today, a lot of people are talking about Peter Obi. At times they will tell me, look, when it comes to presidency, we are voting Peter, we want a change. We're tired of these guys, we're tired of all these names. We want a new person in the system. And I'm just very sure that what is driving, what is bringing that urge in them, that motivation of change in them, is the awareness I'm giving to them. There are a lot of communities a lot of units have not yet gone. I'll still go meeting with them. But I assure you, if this conversation is taking down the words like town hall meetings and all that, I'll tell you, you're doing a great job. It will change the mentality of our people, and people will begin to reason. Of course, we experienced what happened in Ocean just a few weeks ago, a few months ago. You saw people rejecting money. Those people are aware of the system. The people are aware of what they want. They were rejecting money. So I'm very sure, maybe even after 2023, people will win elections without even necessarily having huge money to spend, because people are becoming aware of the system, and because also the electoral system is also improving. And I'm sure as it continues improving, more laws comes to seal these loopholes. The youths are going to enjoy good and quality democratic governance.
Okay, John, thanks very much. Thank you for your thoughts there. Aqua, I think I'll go over to you. So we know, and I think John even mentioned the effect that the whole Peter Obi movement is having, even down to his ward, where the people are saying, fine, maybe for chairmanship or national assembly or local government or whatever, we will vote this way. But when it comes to the presidency, this is where we're voting. What impact do you think this can have in influencing, the politics of our country long term beyond 2023? So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bassi. As a matter of fact, it will have a very huge and massive impact in both our short-term and our long-term policy. First of all, please let me apologize. I'm having network challenge, so I can't use a video. Please pardon me for that. Yes, the Peter B movement is a phenomenon, and that is basically because Peter B has been able to prove out and to every young Nigerian that he has what it takes. He has integrity, he has a competency, he has an empathy, he has the charisma that is needed for the leadership, the kind of leadership that Nigerians, especially the youth, yearn for. At this point in time, given our current political crisis, among the three major candidates, if we look at their track records, we find out that none come close to Peter Obi. And the youth, with the advent, thank God, with the advent of social media, the internet and the social media, it's now easier to reach out to people, to a mass of people within a short space of time. Within a second, a tweet could go viral. within a second, a hashtag become trending, and a lot of people are now informed, well informed, particularly the youth who have this technology at the tips of their finger. And so they are becoming informed, aware, and conscious of the fact that governance affects their daily living. And so therefore,
sorry, let me just take you up on a point there, because, there are people who would argue that the, elections are not won on social media, they're won, at each polling unit. So how does that information, maybe that goes viral on a tweet, translate down to, sensitization at the grassroots? So maybe you can just touch that point and then go on to make the other points that you were making.
Thank you. It is human beings who tweet. The people who tweet are human beings. They are not robots. These are human beings. Now, let's look at what happened during the EndSARS. It started with a tweet, and it went viral. And the next thing we knew, the people were on the street saying no, no, no. Okay, even look at the obedient movement. Earlier on, you mentioned the rally in Calabar. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? There was one in Nasarawa State a few days ago. There was another in Abuja. Another one is coming up in Port Harcourt on the 27th of August. It's coming up. There was another one in Imo State. There was another in Ebonyi State. And so this is not just about social media. But what the point I'm trying to establish here is, prior to the advent of the social media, the conventional media was being manipulative and being manipulated by a certain group of persons who serve the interest of the politicians for their own narrative. Now that has changed. We have this tool in our hands. We have the media in our hands. With your cell phone, you get to know what is going on. You get to communicate with people all over the world. And so you could disseminate information. And this information go viral and people become aware, conscious, and informed of their rights. And so that has changed the narrative that we are seeing today with the obedient movement. And so people who are saying it's a social media, it's a feeble attempt to discredit and to discourage the obedient supporters or the obedient movement. And so the structures, it has translated or transitioned from the social media. Now we see them on the street. And now these people are still arguing, they were paid to come out and do the rally. Look, when people are bent, it's in politics, when people are bent on discrediting a candidate, they will go all out to do anything. And I think a particular candidate who attracts such attacks, you should know that he has something peculiar and exceptional about him. And that is about Peter Obi. And so when we are looking at the youth, in my estimation, are going to be the deciding factor in the 2023 elections. Because the youth now know that it is no longer beneficial for them to accept peanuts and mortgage their destinies and their future in the hands of politicians who have, over the decades, consistently failed to lift this nation out of poverty and the economic underdevelopment that we are having in this country today. So the youth are going to be the drivers of the 2023 election.
Okay, Aqua, thanks very much. I think let me go to Nella. I'd like to hear your views, and then maybe Rosemond as well, probably is on the same point. So, okay, so Peter Obi, has come. There's no doubt whatsoever that this is a phenomenon. This is, something unusual is happening, right? What do we think that younger people can learn from Peter Obi, that we may be able to possibly find the same type of thing happening at the state level, at the local government level, and at the world level? What lessons do you think can be learned so as to replicate similar movements? Nella? Nella, if you're there, you need to unmute. Rosamond, do you want to respond to that?
Okay, let me base, this is just my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
A few things that I've seen, and I was trying to be non-partisan with my views, but I'll just give a general perspective, right? So one thing is, I think Nigerians are tired of business as usual. They're looking for someone that is taking action based on not just saying things, but you can go back to the books, back to the record, and you can see a track record of actions, things that he has done, you know. And I feel that can be a card that young people can play here at state level and local level. You're in a position of power at the local level. What are you doing? Funds have been released for you to have projects at local level to serve the people. But in that position, you know, it's for gains, it's for your private needs, it's for your own self, you know. So there is someone cannot say, the citizens cannot say that you were in that position and this is what you delivered on. And that's one. So for him, I feel it was the card that he played is, I've been able to serve Nigerians, you see it, at different capacities that I was in. These were the things I was able to do. And it's not just words. We've been able to pinpoint it to say, okay, this. So one thing, we need leaders that are service-oriented. The second thing is, I will agree with Aqua, but also deviate a bit. I feel that social media is important, but I also see that the movement for him is not just social media focused. It is beyond social media. You see grassroots mobilization. Young people are no longer focused on, oh, hey, we're on Twitter, we're making this happen on social media. You see them, like yesterday, there was, a match for that purpose. So you see that he's not just focusing on online mobilization, there's grassroots mobilization. And for leadership at state level and local level, we realize that it's just a very small fraction of citizens that come out to vote. Actually, it's, if you notice, after the elections, you would hear for a state that is up to, let's just based on the statistics, let's see, a state that is, this is now an example, 50,000. After an election, results are read for that state. There is the vote does not even come close to the number of registered voters for that particular state, right? People are no longer interested in people that is just verbal. That is what we see at state level. They are not mobilizing people based on, I'm interested in this particular leader. I'm interested in this particular candidate and I want to vote for this person. It's more like, I'm interested in this person because he's going to fund my pockets, right? So for him, you notice that he's not tilting towards that. It's more of an intentional approach. And he has put soldiers on ground to make sure that, he's mobilizing the right person. He is mobilizing the right people that will support him based on his track record, not based on what he has to offer financially and otherwise. So another thing I would notice about the whole campaign, and it's that it's no longer focused on the party, right? We're no longer focusing on the party. Before now, it used to be, okay, hey, if it's not this party, the majority, the minority, and all of that. Now it's more like we're accommodating other parties, but we're now focused on people that are able to deliver, not the party, but the individual, the person's credibility, the person's track record, and the person's ability to take Nigeria from where it is now to a better place. So these are the few things that I've noticed. And I feel that if we take these things and we just break them out in segments and we bring them down to local level, it will help us to also decide, because I feel like the elections always focuses basically at the national level. And we fail to understand that even at local level, it might seem insignificant to you. It's important because at that level, decisions are being made. At the state level, decisions are being made that would affect you directly as a citizen. So we're moving beyond just focusing on the national elections that would bring in, the president and all, but we are also focused on who do we have here? Who are the candidates that we can entrust to take our state, to take our local government to the next level? So these are the things that can play down here if we're bringing it down to our level. Yeah.
Okay, Rosemont, thanks very much. We have a couple of people who have questions or comments to make, so I'm going to give them the opportunity now. David Etim, if you would unmute, please go ahead. Yes. And then we've got someone who is iPhone. I'm not sure who that person is, but we'll give you the opportunity next.
Thank you very much, Iso. Interesting conversation and fantastic views. I am not a youth anymore. In a few weeks, I'll be 55. So, but I still believe that we are young at heart. Few things. Firstly, since the issue here is youth participation in politics, firstly, I just want to, and politics is actually about acquisition of power, political power. Now, power is never given. It is always taken. So youth expecting that someone is going to, set a table and invite you to come to the table, sit down and dine, it's not going to happen. So the youth must mobilize within themselves. The event of yesterday, the march, most impressive, but a lot more of that needs to be done. It must be seen more, it must not be seen as a jamboree, but as a means to mobilization. Just comments. Now, in the issue going forward, first of all, we must accept that the current political or public sector situation and political class have failed to deliver on good governance. If we accept that, then the next thing should be, how do we change the narrative? Now, definitely there must be, without wanting to be, I think it was Rosamond Achibong that said that, or something to the effect that in the new model, there must be a ownership, the people, the power must come from the base. It shouldn't be a top down, it should be from the bottom up. And to be able to move that, the issue of social impact. So in your community, at your local government level, at your ward, on your street, begin to make an impact. Once you make an impact, that track record builds. Okay, the Nigerian political system is evolving. We are now getting to the point whereby it, like the ward chairman said, one man, one vote. We have gotten there now. Before now it wasn't that. So we now have a one man, one vote. So whatever you do at your local, street level, community level, begins to record for you. And I think that once we get that, once people understand that, and the youth especially understand that, then the issue of how do we get into political office answers itself. And then another point I just want to drop in quickly before I let go is the issue of defending your vote. You need to defend your vote. It's not just drop it and go home. You need to be there, see the process to the end, get the tally, and then go. That follow through is critical. Like in anything in business, I mean, I'm a businessman, so I always relate back to business. Follow through. You don't just do something and leave it halfway. You have to take it, as they say, take it to the bridge. You have to get it to the point where, the story, the fat lady sings, the story ends, the result is given, and once you do that, and, then you're done. And on the issue of funding, and you asked a question about the big politician with 100 billion to spend, and the little guy, the David and Goliath story. There is a perfect example of a David beating a Goliath in Cross River State. 1999 election. The people that won that election did not have a pool of funds, but they had strategy. They deployed that strategy more effectively than those that had the money and got a result. So there is a track record of don't be intimidated by the big money. Okay, in Nigeria today, there are several places where big money was spent and they failed. Maybe I'm not a politician, but I do believe that in the last election, in is it the Osun State or Ekiti State, the last one, where the Adeleke guy won, it was not a matching of money because there was more money on the side that lost than the side that won. But it was credibility, it was integrity, it was the passion of the people to support the guy. So let's not feel discouraged by a lack of money. The truth of the matter in politics is that, like in business, anybody, if you have a vision that you cannot sell to somebody else, then that thing is not worth it. You have to be able to sell your vision, other people see the vision and buy into it and put their money behind it, because a person's money is a substance of himself. If somebody trusts you enough to put his money behind you, then that means that what you are saying resonates. People are using the no shishi for what Obi says and mobilizing. People are putting their money behind the man's statement because they believe in the man. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, or they believe in him. And that's what every politician or anybody that wants to be politically active should target. Thank you very much.
Okay, David, thanks very much for your points. I'll ask whoever it is that's behind the iPhone to make his or her comments. But I think you've made a good point there, which is around track record, being able to to sell candidacy to people. And I think also it just comes to mind also, Barack Obama is probably somebody that you can point to as well, who built a track record and leveraged on the opportunity when it to some extent on that track record, but also I guess on whatever other things he had going for him to bring about some kind of phenomenon that led to his election. But I think that's interesting. I would love to hear more views on this, how it is that people think that we can get at the state and local government and ward levels the same type of energy that Peter Obi is creating at a national level. I'd really love to hear views on that. But so yes, iPhone, please, if you can just unmute yourself and go on and please make your comment.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Hashim Abubakar Umar. I joined because of the subject matter. Youth participation in politics, it's been years that we've been trying to see how we will awaken the consciousness.
Sorry, but your audio, we was really struggling to hear you. I don't know if you can maybe bring the device closer to you or something, because we'd really love to hear your view.
Oh, okay. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay, fine. It's been years that we are trying to see how youth at a grassroots level engage in political activities because of the status quo that we are saying that elites have taken over the political space and all that. We did less in participating seriously, but with the current spirit of what Peter Obi brings, I think I see Peter Obi not as a presidential candidate alone. I see him as somebody that is doing much to reawaken people's conscience to participate in political democracy, because in as much as this kind of spirit is being presented by a presidential candidate and the response is like this, in years to come, we will not know the kind of force youth will make in this country to take over the political space. There is a lot that needs to be done, I know, the elites are still in the game and they have the power, the money, the influence, and connections, and everything to fight back, and they will fight deeply. And unless if we sustain the tempo and increase it, we will hardly make any impact. I like the topic. I like the submissions, especially what Naira said. I feel that in years to come, with this kind of awareness and to reach out to people that are not fortunate enough to participate in using social media, if we can have a physical enlightenment forums that will go into communities and sensitize people.
We're losing you a little bit. I really love what you're saying and would really love to hear you clearly. I don't know if there's anything that you can do to improve the quality of your audio.
Okay, are you hearing me clearly now?
It's better now, yes.
Okay, what I'm saying is that the kind of enlightenment we need to be moving in years to come supposed to be a physical enlightenment, something beyond social media, something beyond the internet, because the majority of the people that need to participate in this kind of political democracy that we are seeing are in the grassroots. Some of them have no access to internet. Some of them doesn't know all these kind of applications we are using to connect. But they have the enthusiasm, they have the experience to participate. So we need to do more. We need to create a reach out to people that cannot connect with us like this. If you see the participation here is very low, but we need to send this kind of messages beyond the number that we have in this kind of Zoom meeting. We need to sustain the tempo in years to come seriously, and I can tell you that we will make a mega force in this country beyond religion, beyond regional, beyond any kind of sentiment, and we will make a great difference. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks very much. Sorry, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said the name is Abubakar, if I'm not mistaken.
Abubakar Hashim, yes.
Okay, so that would suggest that you're from northern Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you mentioned, you talked a bit about like the Peter Obi movement and the whole enthusiasm around it. I would be curious and really interested to know what the sentiments in the North are, because of course we also know that religion plays a part in how people vote. So I mean, we're not suggesting people vote either way, but I'm just raising this as realities on ground.
Well,
I'd
I'm
love
not
to know the sentiments.
Okay, I'm not disputing the fact that in some areas religion do make impact. But like I said, the way Peter Obi comes out now, a lot of people are now even seeing it beyond religion. Because if it is religion, you have tried it before. If it is regional, you have tried it before, and it's not working. And I'm telling you, the notion is not like the way we see it, that if you are just a Muslim or Christian, there are some chunks of voters that will just vote for you. There is a strong agitation of people to come beyond this kind of religion, and it's making a lot of impact. Like I'm saying, it's making a lot of impact. People are seeing candidates beyond their religion. People are seeing candidates beyond their regional sentiment, what they will get. Like I told you, if it is like this before now, there is a lot of changes, and that change will make a great impact in 2023 elections.
Okay, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your comments.
Yes.
John,
let me just add a little. I know when if you are talking of Peter Obi here, I know of Christians, Catholic for that matter, that are opposing Peter Obi on all directions. And I am asking them, why are you doing all this? Because they didn't believe in Peter Obi. And if you ask them, what are they saying about other candidates that they said that they are still undecided? So what I'm telling you is beyond religion now. People need to come out and show themselves as candidates, not as Muslim or Christians or from North or South. You need to have something tangible on papers that you will convince voters to vote for you, that you are the candidate seriously.
Excellent. Okay, thanks very much. I wanted to I wanted to ask this question of John being a ward chairman, but Rosamond, maybe I'll ask your, maybe I'll throw this at you because maybe Rosamond, tell us what the organization that you're involved with does, so that maybe I'll know whether the question is you're the best person to address it to.
Okay, so I'm the program manager at the Bridge Leadership Foundation. So this year we launched a fellowship program, which is the Emerging Political Leaders Fellowship. Basically, it's a non-partisan program, fellowship program that is aimed at nurturing and preparing Nigerians that are interested in running for political office at local, state, and federal level with context, with skills, and also with providing them with the network that they would need on their own political journey. So we've been doing that. This particular cohort, we have 25 fellows. Some of them have run for office at local and state level. And this fellowship is providing them with the context, because one of the things that we realized is that a lot of people that go into office, political office, they do so without understanding of what politics is and what is needed for them to do when they're in that position. So they just enter politics with just the general perspective of, hey, I'm going into politics because I want to serve. But there is no context, there is no full understanding, and there is no mentorship, like I said when I started. And we realized that these are critical. It helps, it helps the fellows, or it helps anybody that wants to run for office at any point in time, have that. Once you have that perspective, that context, it would guide you as you run for office. And that's what we've been doing so far. We've been on our virtual training, exposing the fellows to past and current serving credible political leaders that have been exposing the fellows to context based on their experience, based on what is at party level, at what is applicable. We are exposing them to the electoral process, every single thing we feel that would help the political leader emerge. And we're trying to bridge that gap, because right now we just have people that, every single electoral season, we have political leaders that come out, different political leaders, but throughout the 4 years, or let's say 3 years before the electoral season begins, you don't hear anything about them. There is no context. You don't see anything practical about them. There is no engagement. They are not doing anything at grassroots level. But when it comes to the electoral season, they emerge, they come out, and sadly they lose that election, because throughout there's a period of nurturing, there's a period of preparation that you should be in. And I always say this, that sometimes you might be thinking that a particular political office is where you can function in because of, oh, hey, I don't want to be at the local level, I want to be at the state level, but you've not gotten perspective, you've not gotten that level of, what's the word I would use? There's a process to things, so that there's no smooth transitioning process. So that's what I feel, and that's what we're trying to expose our fellows to. That process is important. They will help your political process, your political journey, and it will also help you to be engaged with people that already know what it is. Politics is involved in, and how can they engage if they're in that position? What can they do differently, and how can they change the narrative? Which is the most important area of this fellowship: changing the narrative of what has always been. How can the fellows be different? So that's what we've been doing for the last few months now. The next cohort will be open next year. We're taking it bit by bit. The fellows will also be paired with mentors across states. We have fellows across the different states in Nigeria, 25 of them. And through this whole process, they'll be getting that guidance and support, just to make sure that once they are ready to start their political journey again and run for office, they are fully prepared. So okay. That's about it.
Okay, Rosamond, thanks very much. let me go to Nella. Nella, I don't know if you can hear me. I wanna ask you this because you know, I've interacted with you. I think this is probably the second time we're having the opportunity to meet. You know, on the face of it, you know, I do feel like you're the sort of person who it would be great to have, you know, running for office in the state. I haven't heard what maybe you planned to do, but I would imagine that you had, you know, plans to do a couple of good things. Now, my question is, you find yourself within, you know, so a lot of people would say to win an election in Cross River State, you must belong to one of the two main political parties. You know, previously maybe it was just the PDP, but now you have to be either PDP or APC. Now, knowing how candidates emerge, and you know, it's nothing hidden with it's nothing hidden at all. The delegates are, you know, but let's assume that you were to have the support to actually emerge. How effective do you think somebody who has good intentions could be under a system like that, where you emerge through a process that involved, you know, buying of votes essentially? You need to, oh, okay, I probably need to ask you to unmute. Okay.
Yes.
You got
Can
my
you hear me
question?
now?
Yes.
I think so, but I've been in and out. It's raining heavy here, so my network is a bit. But I think I generally got your question. You asked if how someone who has the requisite, skills,
you've got the right ideas. You really
yes.
You're passionate. You've got a vision, a great vision, but the process through which you emerge, right? Let's assume that you've got the backing of some, you know, godfather, or whatever. You have a process through which you emerge. How do you think that might impact on your ability to go on and do what you actually want to do, considering the fact that you would have pressures and, you know, pulling at you from all angles?
Well, the truth is, I think you have to see it in two different ways. If you're saying someone actually emerged with the backing of a godfather, in quotes, well, that also depends on who that godfather is. There are some people who genuinely want to see people thrive, and throughout my own process, I came across those people. So yes, there are those people. So in that situation, you should be able to have the necessary assistance and even the freedom to operate. Because I think a lot of the times the problem is people come into government, go into offices with good intentions. They're like, I'm going to revolutionize how politics is played and how things are done and how representation is provided. And then you get in and you find you're an island, and you are working against an existing structure, which, you know, we cannot deny the fact that there are systems already in place. There are certain things that have become part and parcel of the governing structure of, you know, either a state, or if it's a state assembly or national assembly or in the executive arm of government. So I think it becomes a bit difficult for someone who maybe is functioning as an island, even if you have the necessary external support, because you're going to be working with other people. If you're a legislator, you have to convince, in Cross River State, you have to convince 24 other legislators to support either your bills or your motions or your, you know, or your policy ideas. At the executive level, same thing. So then if you have, I guess, a godfather that is sort of going to sit on you, then that's a completely different scenario, and you'll be answerable to someone. Now, I think what we need to be trying to achieve is a situation where more people are forcing their way in, who are like-minded, because we think governance will change overnight if one fantastic person gets in. The truth is probably not, because there are going to be people who will be there's the structure that's there that will be demanding things or functioning in their own way. The institution needs to change, not that one person. And institutions change where there is a certain culture that is either introduced or a leader takes an active step to say, okay, we are changing the culture of this institution, either a political institution or maybe a governing institution. So for me, I think it will be very difficult unless and until we begin to build that critical mass of people who actually want the same thing, are driving for the same change, are like-minded. If you have in a House of Assembly or a legislative house of, let's say, 25 people, you need at least 2/3, or even if you're getting close to that, who are working towards the same thing. And that can only come when we share ideologies. I think a big part of our political problem is we need ideologies. We need to believe in something as a people. That's what association is, coming together for something. If we have the same economic idea of what the policies are, if we have the same housing policies, if we have the same family planning policies, then as a group of people, yes, there will be disagreements, but when we want change, when we want to push for change, even the electorate will align according to who and where they see their policy, their own feelings, or what their interests are aligned. And maybe that is when we can, that type of question will be answered with, no, I will be able to push for my policies and they will get through because I will go and lobby this, that person, and they will go through. Or at the executive level, I can sit with the cabinet of like-minded people because when we all came into office, we knew what the collective goal, what the party goal was for in this area, in that area, and that area. So it will no more be about the person or where the party where the benefits are. It will be about, this is the ideology behind the government of the day, or the office of the day, or the assembly of the day. So I think that's, because it wasn't really a personal question, it was more of what I think about the situation. So I think that's my response. Until we come together with the same ideology and form critical mass, then it would be more of a collective solution, and
Okay.
these islands will not suffer as much.
Okay, Nella, thanks very much. Thank you. We're beginning to wind down, but Aqua, I would like to bring you in on the next question, which is, and I'm sure, if you're working at the grassroots politics in Cross River State in particular, you will know that, when they're candidates, people really tend to judge candidates based on their generosity as to constituents. So did he give me money when I needed to bury my father? Has he empowered? Has he, bought motorcycles or whatever it is? Does he support widows? Those sorts of things. And, Aqua, how do we move from that to, a mindset where we realize that a legislator has gone to the assembly to make laws, and we begin to ask them, or we begin to judge them or assess their performance based on, the quality of laws that they may have proposed, etc. Or the executive, for instance, how do we move from, can I have money for school fees, to what's going on with the road leading to our community?
Thank you. I think it begins with your value system, the culture and the value system, and then transition to education. Over the years in Nigeria, the political class or elite have weaponized poverty, and in this weaponization have made themselves philanthropists with public funds. So the money they give back to these people is not their personal money. It's money stolen from our common treasury. And the people go to them making these demands and requests because they are impoverished. Educationally, they're disadvantaged. Job-wise, they are disadvantaged. And so it's like when you are poor, all you just think about and your concern is where to get the next meal and survive that moment or that day. And so for us to address this issue, we need to begin to look at what is our value base, what is our value proposition, what is our culture. You know, because of politics, the way politics is being played in Nigeria, the culture has been abused, and orientation changed and moved towards materialism. Now, the government needs to do, if the government is responsible to its duties, obligations, providing the basic infrastructures and making available the basic necessities of life, I do not think people will begin to go to politicians to seek for favors. But in a situation where these things are lacking, the people are compelled to begin to, because the politicians do this intentionally to create a kind of a cult fellowship around themselves, where people come and worship them and seek for this favor. So we go back to the culture, begin to re-educate our people from the cultural background that, look, this is not right, that government is for the people and not for the leaders. And so even if you are poor, it is not for you to go looking for peanuts, for crumbs of bread falling from the table. No, the government should be able to provide education. Your child should be able to access education either at free, if possible, free, or at the most, or at the least, affordable. You as a woman should be able to access health care in your community without paying through the blood. Now, if these are provided, the people will have no need to go to the politicians. Education, if you look at our curriculum, our school system, our curriculum, our education, it's also not doing enough. Up until recently, in most schools, even today, in some schools, especially the secondary schools, history is not being taught as a subject. Now, people who do not know their past don't even know where they are going. And so when you don't know your history, you don't know where you're coming from, you don't even know where you are going. So until people are empowered with their past and be able to say, okay, this is our foundation, this is where we're coming from, this is who I am, this is who we are, and this is what we stand for, and this is where we are going. Until that happens, we will continue to witness this same narrative that we are experiencing now. But that is changing. I will continue to reference the social media. That is changing because on social media, yes, in the rural communities, a couple of persons do not have access to the social media. But I can tell you,
Aqua, I really appreciate your thoughts and comments, but I'm very conscious of the fact that we've got just 1 minute left. So, I think we've got the point, and thanks very much for that. Let me use this opportunity now to, I think there's Rosemont. Rosemont, maybe just in 1 minute, if you can just give some closing remarks, and then if Nella is here too, she can do the same, and then we'll wrap up the conversation. Oh, Nella, do you want to go first? Go on. Just give us in 1 minute your closing remarks.
Okay. Rosemont's here. Okay. I think in closing, I would just say I think the topic is youth participation, your youth involvement in politics.
Yeah. I
think there are several pillars that we can focus on to increase and grow our numbers in political involvement. One is, I think, political awareness. There are several CSOs, such as CCRM, getting involved in that. I think Rosemond's also introduced hers. There's the Electoral College of Nigeria, which I'm actually the Deputy Executive Director of, and we teach about the governance process, the electoral process, the government institutions, and your responsibility as the electorate. So I think the more people that become aware of their political rights and their civic duties, it would help. But on the ground, I think a big issue is poverty. I think we need to see how people can grow, like their social mobility can increase. We need to move from one level to the other. When people are empowered, when people know that, okay, I have a source of income or a source of revenue outside of politics, then people would either be willing to run for office, because then they may not need those godfathers. They can raise funds from their network, from their community, from business partners, from different sources, including themselves. Then if we also have people who are financially at least better off, then we wouldn't have the issues we see in politics, where votes are bought, people sell their votes for peanuts. You realize that, look, I am capable of taking care of myself. Health doesn't become such an easy way to sell your vote, because healthcare, we need health, proper health services, which is the responsibility of government. So I think if we handle those things, political awareness, social mobility, let young people begin to move from one level to the other in the economic ladder. And then our institutions, we need to focus on the institutions, the electoral institutions, the government. We need more interaction between the electorate and the government outside of that political one-year cycle. There are things like, I know, youth councils. We need to get them more involved in the political process within the 3 years. And I think Rosman said there's 3 years between elections, between each election. What was youth? I know there are lots of young people who are running for offices within their university structure. We need to incorporate them. Let them have opportunities to experience politics outside of that. Let them see what the legislative arm of government is about, what they do, what the executive does. Let's have conversations going. We can even have people who represent the young people and their needs, speaking up in hearings and things like that. I think let's increase that level of interaction, so young people realize, I have a right to demand something or this and that from those who want to represent me. And after 4 years, we kick them out because we have built critical mass if they don't deliver. So I think those are some of the ways we can look at towards moving forward, because if we don't, the vicious cycle will continue.
Okay, Nella, thanks very much. Rosemond, please, in 1 minute, you can just give us a closing remarks and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay, in 1 minute, I want to encourage young people. Our voices are important, and it's time for us to use our voices well, right? I think we should move away from money, from the talk of money, and focus on value. Let's start looking at how much value you can add in your community, in your neighborhood. How can you start making a difference at that level? Then we can move on to the value that you can add in politics. And I want to encourage you, please don't stay back. Participating in politics is your right, and it is essential for us to know that we're doing this as a collective. We can't do it in silos. If we're doing it individually, we will not get the results that we need. So please, let's synergize, let's work together to make sure, like, I think, I can't remember, someone said something that we shouldn't just say that, okay, I think I lost my train of thought, but I wanted to say something. But I just want to encourage you, please don't stay back. Don't think that politics is for just a few or it's a dirty game. No, it's not. I used to have that mindset, but it's very important now that everybody gets involved, and everybody gets involved with is on the right train. So choose your train based on values, based on what value the person is going to be bringing to the development of that state, local government, whatever environment. Let it be value-based, not based on sentiments. So that's just my take, and I hope that we all engage during the elections and we're all active. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, Rosemont, thanks very much. Aqua, the reason why I'm not coming to you is because, you know, I took your last comments as your closing remarks. So thanks very much. So in wrapping up, let me just use this opportunity to thank panelists. Thank you, Nella, Rosemont, Aqua, and John. I think it's been quite an engaging conversation this afternoon, and I think there's quite a lot that we've got out of it. We'll be summarizing this conversation and you know, sharing it across our different platforms for those who were unable to attend. And for some reason, participation today or attendance on the Zoom is lower than usual. Let's just hope that you know, the people who would normally be on Zoom with us maybe came in via Facebook or YouTube. But yes, so you know, this conversation has been brought to you courtesy of the Cross River Movement, and would invite you, if you're not signed up, to visit www.crossrivermove.com to find out more about us and to please sign up and also to volunteer. You can follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter at Cross River Move. And these conversations come fortnightly, and our next conversation is going to be on Sunday, the 28th of August, which is in exactly 2 weeks' time. And also something really exciting is that we're putting together in partnership with you know, a number of other groups, a conversation with gubernatorial candidates in Cross River State. So these we expect to take place over the months of September and October. We will be having the gubernatorial candidates on this platform. We'll be having you know, various partners, the Calabar Chamber of Commerce, the NLC, and you know, a number of other stakeholder groups on the platform as well. And we want to be putting questions at the candidates and you know, getting answers from them and getting them to explain to us what their plans are for Cross River State. So we look forward to that. And please, you know, we will begin to put out some material promoting that. Please share that information, share it, you know, become ambassadors for us. You know, let's really drive this movement. And if you'd like to volunteer, you know, reach out please to us via the website, and you know, we'll be happy to have you on board and get you busy working towards a better Cross River State. So thanks very much once again. And please, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. There you will get all the videos that we post on a regular basis, and you can stay engaged with us. So thanks once again, and I wish you guys a great what's left of your weekend. Thank you.